In the Danish version of Alone in the Wilderness, contestants are quite fortunate, often catching plenty of fish to eat. Some prefer grilling the fish for a natural, soothing flavor, while others enjoy it smoked, likening it to the taste of fries. How do you like to cook your fish? On the fifth day, Stein is woken up early by nearby birds. Despite his hunger, he feels good enough to hum a tune. He knows he needs to go out and gather resources, and every morning he spends time putting on all his clothes because the weather outside is no joke. The microphone must be worn at all times, or the production team won't use his footage, making his effort pointless. He finds the filming equipment a bit burdensome to carry around. Stein likes this camera, which can be fixed to tree trunks, letting him work without worrying about the shot. He thinks he might document his life after this challenge and wonders how the production team selects the footage, guessing it takes several people. Stein has mild autism, so he often struggles with emotional control during the challenge. Loses control of his emotions. Now he needs to stay focused on the challenge, hoping everything will turn out well. I have to say, this shelter is even messier than my bed, but it really makes use of every space. He loves the scent of nature. If it weren't for the food issue, he would enjoy life even more. There are berries on the ground that can be eaten. I wonder if anyone else has noticed them? Magnus feels okay, but his stomach keeps growling with hunger. He packs up his things and heads to check the fishing net, praying along the way to catch a big fish. Nearby berries. He hasn't seen any, really just relying on emergency food to get by. Every day, he wakes up from hunger. He quickens his pace to the fishing net but doesn't see any fish. Magnus pulls the net to shore to check. If he hasn't caught any fish, he'll need to change his survival plan. Luckily, there are 2 decent-sized fish in the net, enough to last 5 or 6 days if rationed. He's incredibly excited now and has the energy to explore further. Rune is still working on improving his shelter, but he's starving and really wants to. He wants to check the fishing net, but the spot he chose isn't great for reaching deeper waters. If he wants to catch more fish, the best way is to build a raft. There are plenty of floating logs nearby, which can be turned into a raft with some modifications. He just needs to carve out some notches and fit the planks together. He feels like a genius. Meanwhile, Stein finally gets some footage of catching fish. He's struggling to set up the net, feeling completely overwhelmed. He sees fish swimming by and wants to throw the net in immediately, but the more anxious he gets, the more tangled the net becomes. Stein's frustration quickly turned into anger. He was so mad he wanted to cut the net with scissors. He kept muttering under his breath, clearly furious. Suddenly, he exclaimed, "Oh my god, no way!" His shoes got wet before he could fix the net, which made him calm down instantly. He realized he needed to hurry back and dry his shoes. Meanwhile, Magnus was savoring his fish, enjoying the natural aroma filling his shelter. He found the flavor perfect without any seasoning. Although his days were improving, he started to miss his family. I worried he might decide to go home, which would be a hassle for the production team. Luckily, Magnus only considered it and chose to stay a bit longer, at least until his food ran out. Stein, on the other hand, had spent a lot of time and energy on the fishing net, but it still wasn't working. It might have gotten tangled underwater. He definitely needed a simpler, more effective net next time. He thinks a simple and effective net would be better. Catching fish doesn't matter now. He can't worry about it. Maybe pulling hard will work. He's satisfied just setting it up, but once he fixes one side, the other side messes up. He's incredibly frustrated. I suggested he lie down to calm down. Stein cried while tidying the net. Even though his stomach was empty, he was fuming with anger. The only one worse off than Stein was probably Amy. She lay in her shelter every day to conserve energy, feeling utterly exhausted. She had no desire to go out and gather resources, let alone set up a fishing net in the sea. Just walking to the shore felt extremely difficult, especially since it was that time of the month. The harsh environment and abdominal pain made her mood even worse. She had to consider whether to go home and recuperate. Surviving in the wild is no easy task for female contestants, especially during those days. When she's alone, Amy still wants to hold on a bit longer, hoping she'll feel better in a few days. Facing the harsh weather, Christine aims to improve his shelter so he won't be woken by the cold wind at night. The framework is done and suitable for one person. Among the contestants, his shelter is the best. It just needs a waterproof cover and some branches. He plans to build a protective barrier around it, believing he could sleep well even in bad weather. His main concern is food. As the temperature drops, catching fish will become harder. He wonders if he can stock up on Suddenly, he hears a sound and sees a herd of deer passing by. It's hard to say if he's lucky or unlucky, being so close yet unable to eat them. Tears almost fall from his eyes. Just catching one would last him a month. I think he should consider hunting, as no other contestant has been this close to deer. Christine's chances of winning the prize would increase. If it were me, I'd have grabbed my bow and followed them, even if it meant wasting some energy. He's happy but takes no action, which is a bit of a shame. Stein, on the other hand, is struggling with his fishing net. He was extremely frustrated, feeling like his feet were almost numb from the cold, wishing he could bury them in the fire. He had no idea how much longer this life would last. Rune managed to make a small raft that could barely float, thinking it would suffice until he left. He figured he could improve it later if needed. After a busy day, he finally got to rest. He felt lucky to have found so much driftwood. Unlike the other contestants, he could gather a bagful and not worry about the fire going out all night. He is slowly getting used to the wilderness lifestyle, hoping to last a month before taking a break. After eating and drinking, Magnus starts missing his family again. He tries to stay busy by carving animals as souvenirs, but it's tough. His mind wanders when he's alone. He's been tempted to quit several times, picking up the call button. This challenge isn't for everyone. The loneliness can break many. Reflecting on other contestants who last 2.5 months and accomplish so much daily, he feels they are much stronger than this season's participants. There are too many things to do. When in the shelter, Magnus tries to keep himself busy. He doesn't want to go home so soon, at least not before enduring a couple more days to make it a week. The warmth from the fire and the enticing smell of fish make his stomach growl again, just in time to taste the smoked flavor. Although it's his first time trying smoking, theoretically, the taste shouldn't be too different. After a small taste, Magnus can't quite describe it, but it's definitely delicious. From now on, all the fish he catches will be smoked tasty and longer lasting. He highly recommends others to try it. It's just like fries. When night falls, you should stay in the shelter and savor it. That's the right way to do wilderness survival. On the 6th day, Stein is having the worst time. His fishing net isn't set up properly, and his feet are freezing. He's also dealing with his period, making him both hungry and tired, and he has to endure the pain. He's had several emotional breakdowns and spent the whole night contemplating whether to quit. He really doesn't want to keep torturing himself like this. Stein is baffled by the difficulty of setting up the fishing net and worries about what he'll do if it doesn't catch any fish. He's not good at handling hunger and fears he might collapse from starvation. With dark clouds looming, he can't afford to spend all his time on the net. Levi also notices the temperature dropping. The fallen leaves from last night signal that winter is near, making it harder to find resources. The worst part is having no berries to eat, and his stomach is growling again. He desperately needs food to calm his anxiety, which is still high. He feels like he'll go crazy from the torment soon, so he tries to stay busy. First, I'll check the fishing net. If I can catch a fish, I can hang on for a few more days. I'm trying to stay positive, and maybe nature heard my prayers because I actually caught some fish, and not just one. The more I pulled, the more excited I got, and I couldn't stop smiling. In the end, I caught 6 fish in total. I think I can last for weeks now. Having too many fish is also a problem since I need to process and store them. I complain about the hassle, but honestly, I think I'm just showing off. The fish just need a simple preparation. After cooking, the taste was already quite good. I felt like I could eat it every day without getting tired of it. I hoped to catch more fish and maybe even set up a smokehouse. I couldn't even describe how good it tasted and wanted to share it with the other contestants. I wondered if I could keep this up. Meanwhile, Magnus seemed to be feeling down for some reason. He had no desire to explore and, although he wanted to focus on the competition, he kept thinking about home. He felt that nothing was more important than family. The more he thought about it, the more upset he became. Head to the shore to cast his net, trying to distract himself from his homesickness. Wilderness survival is tougher than it seems. He hopes to stay focused. Stein, however, is feeling great and is passionate about surviving in the wild. Today, he's determined to fix that fishing net. His excitement is so high that you'd think he's about to win. Stein hopes this motivation will help him succeed. Maybe because he's well-fed and hydrated, he starts to daydream. Leeway imagines how nice it would be to live like this at home. Even though I'm doing okay, I suddenly feel miserable, even more so than when I was hungry. My mood swings are fast, and now I just want to lie in bed and rest. Wilderness survival really tests a person's willpower. Anyone slightly weaker would have gone home by now. Christine, on the other hand, seems more relaxed, even enjoying the scenery. I wonder if he'll go hunting for reindeer today. It's eerily quiet, and I hope it doesn't pour when we move. Regardless, preparations must begin. My shelter has been up for a while, so I can start waterproofing it now. Take it down, pack up, and move out. The weather is changing faster than expected, and the wind is getting stronger. Luckily, I finished the shelter before the rain started. Levi also feels the weather shift and fears the shelter might get blown away. He's trying to weigh it down with thick logs, hoping it helps. Stein has barely managed to set up the fishing net. Facing the harsh weather, there's nothing he can do but pray the shelter holds up. Amy, already feeling unwell, has to check the net at the shore. She doesn't want to wake up to find it gone, as it's their only food source. She's using heavy stones to secure it, and everyone is reinforcing their shelters. Stein is much slower, and I hope he can keep up. Rune is busy retrieving the net. The waves are stronger than expected, and he doesn't want the net to be swept away. Amy has already used branches to secure the waterproof tarp, preventing it from lifting. The weather is changing too quickly, leaving little time for improvements. Besides the shelter, having enough firewood for the night is crucial. I think Stein is in a dangerous situation and shouldn't sleep well tonight. In contrast, Christine is much calmer, as his sturdy shelter can withstand a small storm. Magnus has long given up on improving his shelter, considering it perfect and worry-free. It will definitely impact him. He's conflicted about when to go home, having given up on winning. He tells himself to leave when he can't find food but also wants to prove himself. No wonder he's so torn. I think he should quit early and go home. With such thoughts, it's hard to stay. He's not the first to leave, so there's no need to worry about leaving too soon. Better to wait for the storm to pass before deciding. The storm is fiercer than expected, and only a few contestants aren't worried about their shelters. Christine even wants to go for a walk, hoping it doesn't scare the reindeer away. He also wants to try hunting deer here. The rain continued until dawn, and most contestants didn't sleep, fearing the wind would blow away the waterproof tarp. So far, no shelters have been damaged. Christine is in a great mood, planning to check the back mountain, hoping to encounter a deer. In contrast, Levi is in a terrible mood, with no energy to fish or improve his shelter. Even a little exercise leaves him needing hours of rest. Magnus now finds fish tasteless. It's really unappetizing, but a waste to throw away. The show's boat is on its way. Which contestant will quit this time? The answer is Magnus, a man who has wanted to go home since the beginning. He feels proud of himself and, if given another chance, would come back better prepared, aiming to last a month. Just thinking about going home soon lifts his spirits. He can't wait to lie in his own bed. Now, only 8 contestants remain. Who do you think will be the next to leave?